Hey, everybody, this is TJR. Earlier in the week, it was announced that Netflix is close to making a deal to produce a Kiss biopic entitled Shout It Out Loud. And I posted a link to this article on the community page here at YouTube and asked for feedback. And I think I'm going to start with some of those comments here as a springboard to talk about my thoughts on the possibilities of this coming to fruition. First, there's a comment here by Rene Rodriguez, and he writes, if Paul Stanley and Gene Simmons are involved, it's going to be really bad. All they care about is getting credit for themselves and bashing Peter, Chris, and Ace Frehley. If the production is independent of them, it might be good. They have a fascinating story, and they never get the credit they deserve as a band. I hope it's a good movie that will make them more fans. And Rene, I hope it's a good movie too. I do think they have a fascinating story. And I also agree, they don't get the credit they deserve as a band or as musicians. Let's Talk also voices a similar concern. Hopefully it's good. Hopefully it's not heavily filtered by Gene and Paul. So Renee and Let's Talk, I know what you mean. I have read Paul Stanley's book entitled Face the Music, and he does trash on Ace and Peter quite a bit. He also trashes on Gene quite a bit too, although not quite as much. Now, for all I know, everything Paul Stanley says in his book is warranted, but I don't know any of them. And I have to add that I have not yet read any books that give the other band members their side of the story. And in fact, that's something I've been wanting to do is hopefully they've all written books. I think they all have, but if they have, I want to read each band member's book that talks about the time period, that they were together during the 70s into the early 80s, roughly. And I want to kind of compare their versions of the story. I think that would make a very interesting video, but that's off in the distance yet. I have to get to the other books. Hopefully they actually exist. I haven't really looked to find out. I'm sure I'll get comments on it here in the comments. But without the input of Peter and Ace, I have the suspicion that the film will mostly focus on Gene and Paul. And if it does focus on Peter and Ace, it will be more about their negative attributes versus anything positive they contributed. Like, for instance, Ace having an alcohol problem, which he did have, and which, of course, he admits to. But I also think they'll have to be careful in how they portray those negative attributes, because I don't think they want to open themselves up to potential liable suits. And I think they will have to only stick to very generally publicly acknowledged facts regarding the other band members. But yeah, the article headline that I posted on the channel pretty much confirms that it's going to be largely filtered through Gene and Paul. James Wilson writes, it could be good. Kiss does have quite the story. I can remember watching a Kiss documentary on VH1, but I doubt they will cover most of the bad things, or they will so not as truthfully or as in-depth as they should or could. And some of their story is a bit too R-rated for a Netflix-type biopic. They will probably tame some things down for the movie. Actually, James, if you watch the Netflix-produced Motley Crue biopic, you'll see that they have no problem with R-rated material, although that biopic was kind of a weird juxtaposition at times. It had this R-rated aspect to it, but it also had some very Hallmark style aspects to it as well, Hallmark Movie of the Week aspect. Really weird juxtapositions, in my opinion. But now here's the interesting thing. In a recent interview posted on the Kiss Army We Are One channel, which is an independent YouTube channel, Gene Simmons confirms the Netflix deal is nearing completion. And he talks about it being a multi-part limited series, roughly 10 to 15 episodes. Honestly, the idea of doing any band's biopic as a limited streaming TV series is a good idea because it gives you a chance to cover their careers more in depth in a way that you can't do with a 2-hour movie. But James, I do agree that there is a story there to be told. In fact, I know I'm always talking about how these films don't focus enough on the music, and I definitely want this film to focus on the music too. But in this case, I think there is something fascinating about the contradictory accountings by the 4 original band members. And so I think there is a fascinating story in there. I don't think we're going to get to see it, though, in this case. Then again, who knows? Perhaps I will be wrong, and this movie or series, whatever it's going to be, will be way more even-handed than any of us think. Robert Saul writes that he prefers documentaries to biopics. And I've said this many times too, I agree. I always feel that a multi-part documentary can cover a lot more than a movie can. In fact, I've always said if you're going to do a movie biopic, a theatrical movie of 2 hours roughly, approximately, you should focus on a certain aspect of that music artist or band's career versus trying to cover a decade-spanning career. But who knows? If this is a multi-episode series, perhaps it will set a new precedent, and we will see rock movie biopics done this way more in the future. I think this would be the right way to do, say, a Led Zeppelin biopic. Okay, so now with all the serious talk out of the way, let's talk something fun. Here is what I would like to see from a Kiss biopic that is released in theaters. And I'm talking theatrical release, not Netflix, not streaming, not a limited series. I'm talking a theatrical movie. Make a Kiss movie that is an apology or a makeup for Kiss Meets the Phantom of the Park. And if you've ever seen this movie, you know what I'm talking about. Take a cue from the Elton John musical fantasy biopic entitled Rocket Man, but take it even further. Do a big budget film that is loosely based on the band's actual real formation. Add in elements of the original Kiss 1970s Marvel comic, where they're 4 teenagers who have these talismans that turn them into superheroes, which, by the way, is something that movie I mentioned, Kiss Meets the Phantom of the Park, that's something that they actually borrowed. They lifted that from the Marvel comic and put it in the movie. And I remember when I watched that movie back in the 70s, I thought, oh, that's really cool. And it was the only cool thing, probably the only cool thing about that movie. But yeah, do a film that borrows some of those elements and make it a big budget special effects movie with earth-shattering stakes and Kiss music, where Kiss has to save the earth and also make it to their first gig. Set it in the 70s, make it way over the top. I think it could be great fun. I think it could spawn a huge film franchise if done right. I think it would probably get Kiss more younger fans than any biopic could. And it's probably never going to happen. But hey, I can dream, right? And I think it would be fun to see. But those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments. I want to thank my patron supporters who are helping me to make more videos. I also want to thank everybody who is sharing these videos on social media. As always, if you like what I'm doing, be sure to click like, click subscribe, and smash that bell notification icon so you can know when I release new videos. And I want to thank everybody for watching. I hope you all stay safe and healthy. Bye-bye.